What's up, friends, and welcome into Fantasy Pros. This is the quarterback and tight end ranks for Week 10. I'm Chris Welsh. We got Pat Fitzmaurice and Andrew Erickson, the tight end ranker. Ooh, Erickson, number 2 on the season. I'm actually 12 on there. I think Fitzy probably has us at quarterbacks. I actually literally couldn't have been worse. I don't think I numerically could have been worse last week at quarterback. I probably made a few calculated wrong decisions. Jaden Daniels didn't help me as either, but we're going to be going through the quarterback ranks on ECR for the top 12 and the tight end ranks for the top 12 as we move through these. Erickson, are you ready to dominate your tight end ranks? One, really all you needed to do was have Brock Bowers at like 1 or 2, and that was going to help you out pretty well, right?
It just takes 1 to 2 guys that you hit on and have big weeks that really moves you in terms of your accuracy ranking. So you just got to find the guys with those high upside. We talk about them on the show. Hopefully we can push you in the direction of chasing these high upside players, because at the end of the day, people are only going to remember you for making the high upside right decisions and not, I was right about Kate Otten going 4 for 40 as a nice floor play this week. No one cares about that. Give me the ceiling. So hopefully we can hit some ceiling plays here with quarterbacks and tight ends.
Yeah, Fitzy, also in the quarterbacks are it's a pretty good chalk range, I think, for like the top 12, even maybe into 15. Like, I feel decent about it. Like, if you're in a little bit of a streamer market, or maybe you've got 2, like, I dig some of the matchups on some of the bigger players. I feel like this is a decent quarterback week.
It does seem like a good quarterback week, and I thought last week was too, where there were maybe like 15 or 16 guys you could feel pretty good about playing. So I'm curious about where you went wrong last week. Were you telling people to start Christian Ponder and Billy Joe Hobart last week?
Dude, it's a great question. I got to go back through it. Like, I think I may have moved Jaden Daniels up a little bit, which hurt. I should go back and look. I mean, I was bad. I was bad. I was okay in the other spots, but quarterbacks really drug me down. So I don't know. Who knows what dumb quarterback decision I make? But people aren't here for me; they're here for you guys. Thank God. So we're going to get you guys through the quarterbacks and the tight end rankings. Before we do, giveaway stuff. I know you guys always like to dig into this, and we've always got great ones. If you want a chance to win one of the most unique pieces of NFL fan gear out there, well, the large NFLPA wall smack, courtesy of our good friends at Trophy Smack, the #1 destination for epic fantasy football hardware, then this is your shot. Their oversized, officially licensed NFLPA wall smack. It's a bold statement piece, and they're perfect for your fan cave, office, or living room wall. It's not just decor. It's a way to rep your favorite players in style. Here's what you got to do to enter. All you got to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. If you're here, do it. Drop a comment below on any of our videos, and that's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on notifications so you do not miss your chance to win this awesome, awesome prize. As always, you guys can follow along, fantasypros.com/rankings. Way more quarterback rankings. We only do the top 12. If you're in Superflex, you're going to want to dig deeper. But we got, it's like top 30, 40 plus on quarterbacks and tight ends. So fantasypros.com/rankings if you would like to follow along. Let's start with the quarterbacks, the big board. Josh Allen is your #1 quarterback for this week. Lamar Jackson coming in at number 2. Hello, Drake Maye, all the way up to 3. He just continuously creeps and just crawls his way up the rankings. Jalen Hurts at 4, Justin Herbert at 5, Bo Nix at 6. Your bottom half here is Jaxson Dart, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, and Matthew Stafford. So as I said, obviously the top end, like Allen and Jackson, phenomenal. You like to see Drake Maye up against Tampa Bay. Herbert's got a great match. So you're feeling good about, maybe Hurts you don't feel like awesome about, but he's Jalen Hurts. You're feeling good about a lot of these guys. Then the back half, there's some names that jump up that the good matchups just kind of continue. And that's where Jaxson Dart comes in. He's ranked very high without, a really #1 receiver or a running back or anybody. And he comes in at number 7 because he's going up against the Chicago Bears. You guys both agree with a higher rank on him. So Fitzy, we'll start with you. You have got Jaxson Dart at 5 this week. So top 5 quarterback Jaxson Dart. The rushing upside's awesome. Do you think he's going to be able to do it really outside of anywhere besides his legs, though?
I do. And you mentioned the rushing upside. Touchdown run in 5 of his last 6 games, and he's had 50 or more rushing yards in 4 of those 6 games. Dart's just been really good. He's averaged 24.9 fantasy points per game since week 6, and the only quarterbacks who have averaged more fantasy points per game than Dart over the last 4 weeks, Justin Herbert, Joe Flacco, that's it. And this week we have the Bengals and the Cowboys on bye. The two teams that just juice fantasy production in whatever games they're in because they've got explosive offenses and terrible defenses that turn other offenses explosive when they go against those teams. The Bears are kind of a sneaky team in that same regard. The Bears' pass defense is kind of a wreck right now. They gave up to Joe Flacco and the Bengals last week 10 completions of 20 or more yards. 10. And the Bears are playing without their two best cornerbacks, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. They're both on IR. They just lost edge rusher Dio Odangbo to a torn Achilles. And the Bears' offense has been cooking, so they can put up a lot of points and force Jaxson Dart to sort of keep the pedal to the metal and try to keep up all game going against this flawed and injury-riddled Chicago Bears defense. So I think Giants-Bears is going to be a shootout, and I would love to have Jaxson Dart starting in this game.
Erickson, I'm guessing, your rank is right there. You're a little bit higher than consensus. I'm guessing you're going to kind of co-sign on this in general. Putting him at 6 is a deep statement of like, we are starting him over significant names and we're not thinking twice about it. Do you think that?
He's QB3 in the projections. So projections don't mean everything, but just to show what the upside is in a median outcome for Jaxson Dart is QB3 this week. So you got to find a way to get him in your lineup compared to some of these other quarterbacks. What he's been able to do against the Eagles twice, the Broncos on the road. Last week was arguably the first time he actually had a good matchup against a banged-up 49ers defense, and I think that we can probably all agree this is the best matchup he's actually had all year pre-game, and he's already been a top 5 quarterback and a lot more tougher matchups. So, if Darius Slayton can just squeeze the football, right, then, Jaxson Dart can be QB1 overall this week.
Daniel Jones, forgettable matchup last week. He comes in at ECR 10. You guys have got him right around consensus. You stack a really, really bad game with going over, I believe they're playing in Berlin. I hate that. I hate how he was exposed last week. Maybe Atlanta isn't in the same scope here, but Erickson, let's start with you. You've got him at 10. I don't have a great level of confidence on Daniel Jones, even though he had been good just off of last week and the traveling that's going on. 10, you feeling pretty good? You think he's going to bounce back?
I think Jonathan Taylor's going to bounce back. I think this offense is going to bounce back. So, look, the Falcons' defense has regressed a little bit since the beginning of the season when it looked like this is a for real unit. They've had a couple of injuries on the defensive side of the football. And I just believe in Shane Steichen, right? And the betting market also believes in the Colts. They have that third highest implied team total on the slate for week 10. And yes, Daniel Jones probably not going to be a top 5 guy, but he's kind of always in that back end fantasy QB1 range just because he's got so many playmakers. We already talked about Alec Pierce on the wide receiver show, how great of a start that he is this week. I think that Daniel Jones, he fails here if, Jonathan Taylor just scores 5 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns like he's done, but that's been a lot of this year, and that's really what's holding Daniel Jones back from a fantasy perspective. So I think that if you're in a pinch, you can still go back to him as like a low-end QB1 this week.
That's actually kind of part of my worry, too, is like maybe you can bounce back from the ineffectiveness, but it's just like hand Jonathan Taylor the ball a whole bunch on those, those big travel games. But what do you think, Fitzy? I think you have him at 11 here. So you're one spot under consensus. What's your take on Daniel Jones for week 10?
Yeah, I don't think Jones' poor performance against the Steelers is especially worrisome. Like I know, I don't really want to put words in Debro's mouth, but I get the sense that Debro thought that maybe it was the clock striking 12 for Cinderella last week with Daniel Jones. I don't agree with that, but I don't love the matchup against the Falcons. Yes, Erickson is right. Their pass defense has not been as lights out in recent weeks as it was early in the season, but they've still allowed the fewest passing yards in the league. So not a great spot for Daniel Jones, but not a terrible one either. And I think if you have him and have been starting him, you're not necessarily looking for some streamer to replace Daniel Jones this week. I think you're just playing him.
As a quick note, because we're going to talk about a non-top 12 quarterback, this was a guy we did have on the list. You guys both had Matthew Stafford at 8. So Matthew Stafford would be one of those guys you would have adamantly played over Daniel Jones. Do you just want to throw a quick little note on that, Fitzy, of like, you guys both had him at 8. This was a clear over Daniel Jones against the Niners defense?
Yeah, you said it, Welsh. I mean, the 49ers pass defense has been pretty rough. No Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner, now no Mykel Williams, the rookie edge rusher. He went down with a season-ending injury, just the latest guy. Like the 49ers are totally snake-bitten. And Stafford's got a league-high 21 touchdown passes, and just, yeah, you always feel pretty good about starting him when he's got that wide receiver tandem of Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
One guy that kind of floats in, you guys are a little bit on opposite, but this is a big Erickson play here. He's outside the top 12, and I do think he's going to come up this week. It's Justin Fields. Justin Fields is ECR 16 on this list. Fitz, you got it down at 18, but Erickson, you got him at 13. You've almost got him as a starting quarterback in fantasy for this week. So why? Why Justin Fields? Please tell me.
Because he's a mobile quarterback. Look, Justin Fields has played 7 games this year. He has been outside the top 30 3 times, and he's been a quarterback 1 in the other 4 games. So sometimes the matchup can dictate whether it's going to be a good start for Justin Fields or not. And I know that people look at the Browns defense and think, oh, this is a really bad matchup. And generally speaking, yes, they usually are a bad matchup. But I look at this all the time when I'm doing a lot of the betting stuff, is the Browns defense is not the same team on the road that it is at playing at home. It's a completely different unit. And it bears out in the statistics when you look at how well they play at home versus on the road. Yards and points allowed this season, the Browns are first at home this season. On the road, they're allowing over 30 real points per game to opposing NFL offenses. And they're averaging 22 points per game to fantasy quarterbacks when they play on the road this season. So, and this isn't just this year. Like, this goes back for the last couple of years with the Cleveland Browns defense, when even when it's been at its top, its peak, Myles Garrett firing on all cylinders, it's still a defense that plays significantly worse when they play away from Cleveland. So, yes, Fields, basically no matter what, is never a comfortable click. I'll be the first to admit that. No one feels great about, oh yeah, I got to fire up Justin Fields this week, but you don't watch the game, and then you look up, and he gets it done. He finds a way if he doesn't get benched. So we still don't even know if he's going to start, because Aaron Glenn has been very hush-hush on who is the QB1 going to be. So first you got to confirm that Justin Fields is going to start for the New York Jets before you click the start button on him. So those are my reasons why that I think that he can end up being a serviceable quarterback this week, just because he has that rushing upside. And I would say that the Browns might be without rookie linebacker Carson Schwarzenegger, and he leads the team in tackles this year. So if he's out, the rookie linebacker, I think that does knock their run defense a little bit, and I think that can open up some opportunities for Justin Fields.
And all jokes aside, by the way, like, they didn't trade Breece Hall, so you still got some of the offensive pieces. Vady Mitchell is out there, maybe stretches of, I don't know, like, the offense still kind of does its thing if you can get to the Browns. Also, another take would have been, if this was a good offensive team they were facing, the Jets traded their defense, so it might create more opportunities that give up points. I'm just not sure that's going to happen in this matchup because it is the Browns. But Fitzy, you are lower on Justin Fields. You and I are a little bit closer on this one. You just, at any cost, don't look like you want to start Justin Fields.
No, I don't. And here's why. We know the deal with Justin Fields. Great runner, bad passer. But the reason I would be terrified to start Justin Fields in fantasy if I had him on any of my teams, which I don't, the quick hook possibility. That's what's terrifying. If I knew that Justin Fields was going to start and finish the game, I'd be right where Erickson is in the rankings. Right a high-end QB2 range. But, we've heard what Jets owner Woody Johnson thinks of Justin Fields a couple of weeks ago, and it was great to see Justin Fields play a great game after that and just stick it in Woody Johnson's face. But they are not going to stick with Justin Fields if he struggles, and it's possible he could get pulled at halftime. He could get pulled before halftime. That's the terrifying part. If I knew he was going to play the whole game, fine, I'll cover my eyes, click his name in my starting lineup and just roll with it and wait to see what the final point total is. See that 154 passing yards and 60 rushing yards and a touchdown stat line and be pleased with it. But man, if he struggles, he could absolutely get yanked and give you a 3-point game.
Fitz,
all right,
sorry, Walsh, I just wanted to ask, does it change at all if Garrett Wilson plays?
Oh, I'm kind of assuming that Garrett Wilson is going to play. But I just don't think that turns Justin Fields into a competent passer, unfortunately.
Yeah, in the ranks, they're kind of messed with too. Like Garrett Wilson isn't ranked like he is the starter yet, and because everybody's kind of waiting for the news. Yeah, I kind of assume he's playing as well. I don't know that it's going to really alter that much. Let's go talk about the tight ends. They got a tight end there. Mason Taylor might be startable. The tight ends here on the big board, top 12. Mason Taylor is not on this list. Brock Bowers comes in at number 1. Trey McBride, number 2. Tyler Warren, Oronde Gadsden at 4. George Kittle, Sam Laporta, that's your top 6. Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Colston Loveland, Harold Fannin, and Hunter Henry. That is your bottom. That is your total top 12. Let's talk about Oronde Gadsden. Gadsden is number 4 on this list. You guys are a little split. Fitzy's actually higher, has him as number 3 overall tight end. So let's start with you, Fitzy, versus Erickson at 6. So what do you think, Fitz?
Yeah, at least 5 catches and 68 receiving yards in 4 straight games for Oronde Gadsden, and he's tight end 2.5 point PPR fantasy scoring over the last 4 weeks. And he gets a great matchup against the Steelers, who've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. The only thing that kind of scares me about Oronde Gadsden this week is what happens if, with Joe Alt being hurt, I do worry that maybe Gadsden, who is basically a glorified wide receiver, like not a true run blocking tight end, like do the Chargers maybe give more snaps to these other guys who actually are blockers, the Will Disleys and Tucker Fisk's. Is that Fisk's first name? Tucker? I can't remember, but
Tanner, Tucker, something like that.
Yeah, so just
Wilson Fisk, I think that's Kingpin, but yeah.
Does the Alt injury in any way change the playing time for Oronde Gadsden? I'm not too concerned about it. I think you're playing him no matter what, but that's maybe the one slight concern I have.
Erickson, why do you hate Oronde Gadsden at 6? This is clear hate territory, so what's wrong?
It's not hate. This is clear. You're starting him as a top 6 locked and loaded fantasy tight end.
Who do you
1.
like more though? Are you pro George Kittle right now?
I think George Kittle has a really high ceiling, especially if he gets Brock Purdy back. We've seen George Kittle rip off 3 touchdown games before, so I don't want to completely rule out. I would say that when I look at my rankings, he was the guy that I probably could put behind Gadsden.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for my tight end rankings that somehow can't miss Sunday morning. But with Gadsden, the thing I'll point out that I thought was really interesting, again, it's not really going to change if you're starting him or not, but last week, what happened to Tyler Warren, right? Faced the same Pittsburgh Steelers defense that was a great matchup against tight ends and didn't really do a lot. So I kind of looked into it, and it was actually the Steelers trade for safety Kyle Duggar. He actually made a big difference for their defense in defending the tight end position, which when Kyle Duggar was in his heyday with the Patriots, he was actually kind of like a tight end eraser, which I kind of totally forgot because he got hurt in the Mike Vrabel era, or excuse me, in the Gerard Mayo coaching tenure. For that 1 year, he was all banged up. And then this year, the Patriots really weren't using him that much, so they traded him for the Steelers. And I think Pittsburgh found something with Duggar as a player that they can match up with tight ends. He is a more athletic type of safety hybrid type of player. So that's something that I just thought was interesting. So I'm not as convinced that the matchup is as salivating as the on-season or on-paper stats would suggest. And this is kind of an overarching part with a lot of these season-long stats defensively. A lot of teams made a lot of trades for defensive players, right? When we look at the Dallas Cowboys when they come back from their bye week, it's not the same defense with Quinnen Williams. Conversely, the Jets are also not the same defense without Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. So that's something that I thought was kind of interesting. So again, this isn't going to really change whether you're starting Gadsden or not, but if he disappoints or puts up more of a floor game, I think that it could be because the Steelers have improved their defense with the acquisition of safety Kyle Duggar.
Colston Loveland, that's another player you guys are, you just kind of split between ECR. Your ranks create the ECR here. He is 10 of tight ends. Fitz, you got him at 8. Erickson, you got him at 12. This, I have to imagine this is going to correlate with your wide receiver takes in the wide receiver episode where, Fitzy, I think you were a little bit pessimistic-ish on Odunze. Erickson, you were definitely high on Odunze. And there's a correlation to Loveland going absolutely ballistic when Odunze didn't do anything. So, Erickson, why don't we start with you? You still have him as a starter, so there's no hate there or anything like that, but you're just lower than consensus overall after that big breakout game. Does this have to do with Odunze kind of bouncing back? It's a great matchup.
Well, so Fitz was the one that was higher on a Doomsday, not me.
Oh, did I have that split? Okay.
So this one for me, it's not really about the relation with the other Bears wide receivers, and I might have to just look at my Bears in general because maybe it's just because I just think it's going to be the Monangai, everything Kyle Monangai related, and he's just going to take all the opportunities. But with Loveland, I do want to see if Cole Kmet plays or not. I know that he didn't matter last week, but Kmet also didn't play in the entire second half of the game because he had a concussion. So we'll see if he ends up playing. I think that does matter when it comes to just how much snaps Loveland does end up playing. And this is more of a neutral matchup. It's not the Bengals. Expecting a tight end to carry over what they do against the Bengals in the next week, it's just not realistic because of how bad the Bengals are against fantasy tight ends. So I think that Loveland is still definitely a starter, especially if you're hurting. You lost Tucker Kraft. I definitely think you can throw Loveland in there, but the matchup just isn't nearly as good as it is against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Fitz, you had to sit there and listen, and you're just like, hey, buddy, I'm the one that likes to Doomsday. I like these Bears guys. Zip it. So I'll zip it. Where are we at on Loveland? You're 8. It seems to be a full carryover to the passing game for the Bears for you.
Yeah, I assume that we're not going to get Cole Kmet the week after a concussion. And Erickson makes a very valid point about this matchup not being as good as any matchup against the Bengals for a tight end who just, they lay down for every tight end they face. But as I was talking about in the Jaxson Dart conversation, like I just think the offensive environment is so good in this Bears game for really any Bears game these days. Bears Giants has a Vegas total of 48.5. Like I think we could get close to 60 points in this game. I gave you guys the stat about when we were talking about Dart about how Joe Flacco had 10 completions of 20 or more yards against the Bengals last week. That was not the craziest stat from Bengals Bears last week. Do you know how many plays there were of 10 or more yards in that game? Take a guess. Bears, Bengals.
Let's go with 12.
I will go with 20.
43. There were 43 plays of 10 or more yards in that game, which has to be some 10. Sort of record. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
I was thinking 20 on that. 20, no, it was
okay.
Your fault. I misheard it. Wow, we undersold that. Say that again. Repeat that one more time.
There were 43 plays of 10 or more yards in Bears-Bengals last week. I mean, there was no defense being played whatsoever. And I think we might see kind of the same setup with Bears-Giants. I think the weather is supposed to be okay. I know I've seen like a little bit of concern about wind in that game, but like there might be some overnight precipitation. I don't think it's supposed to be bad for the game. So I do think Bears-Giants is going to be a shootout. And just, yeah, I mean, if it's down to Colston Loveland being the only tight end in this offense, like tight ends eat in Ben Johnson's offense.
This is true. Final tight end. I think this is in that kind of streamer market. I have a feeling there's going to be some big streamy questions this week. We're not talking about Luke Musgrave, but we are talking about Theo Johnson. If he's available, I think he's just in that great stream option, especially if we like Jaxson Dart. He comes in as the 13th tight end on the list. Fitz, that's where you have him. But Erickson, you've got him at 11. I kind of agree here. I think Theo has been just like a big red zone option for Dart. There's only so many. I mean, there's only so many options to throw to, because there's just not. And Dart seems to always be looking at Theo Johnson. So I really like Theo Johnson in this spot with you. Erickson, what's your top 12 take on Theo?
I'm using Fitz's argument for Colston Loveland here as well, because the offensive environment, right? If this is the most fun game we get, what do we see in these fun games? Usually it's the tight ends that pop off here. So I'm already thinking about moving Loveland up in my rankings and moving him right there with Theo Johnson as one of these high top 10 potential tight ends. If Jaxson Dart smashes, how is Theo Johnson not going to catch a touchdown?
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, I guess that's kind of my mindset. So when we're looking for ancillary pieces to pop off, it's usually because of the game environment. So if Bears, Giants, man, it feels bad sometimes when you're just betting on terrible defenses. Of course, the offenses are going to smash. And then, of course, things end up going haywire and they stall out. But I think we've seen enough good from Caleb Williams and Jaxson Dart, especially with Dart, that, yeah, we should see fireworks and the tight end should eat as a result.
Yeah, the back end of tight, it's just kind of like the quarterback thing I was saying, where it was like, man, you look at the whole top 12 and it's like the dudes that you love, they're fine. And then all the guys that might be questions to streamers, they all have these really good matchups. Tight ends is kind of the same. It's like Kincaid has got Miami, Pitts against Indianapolis. We've talked about Loveland, Fannin in that Jets defense, all these guys, Hunter Henry's against Tampa Bay. I could see that as a reason why you can't get Theo Johnson any higher, Fitz, and I don't know if that's part of it. You are ranking him perfectly fine. He is almost a tight end 1 to you, but I could see a reason why you can't push him higher is just like, look at all these guys with these great matchups.
I mean, I could. I've got him right behind, let's see, Harold Fannin and Hunter Henry are the two guys I've got him right behind. And I kind of think Henry might have an enhanced usage outlook with Kayshon Boutte out. But
yep.
Erickson said it, like we like the offensive environment in this game. The usage outlook for Theo is kind of enhanced because of how shorthanded the Giants are at wide receiver. And Theo's averaged 5.5 targets over his last 6 games. And he's on a heater with touchdowns, 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games. The only concern I really have with Theo is actually his ability to catch the ball. Like, he's been charged with 4 drops this season. It seems like his hands have been rocks at times the last couple of weeks. So as long as he doesn't drop the ball, he should have a productive day in this one.
Lots of rank stuff you guys are going to be dealing with. FantasyPros.com/rankings to see the entire list of where ECR has got everybody, the expert consensus ranks. You also can click on each player if you just want to see where Fitzy or where Erickson has got either one of these players. There's dissenting tools you can use as well, versus however you want to play it out. Go to FantasyPros.com/rankings. Also, make sure you're dialed in on my playbook. Sync your leagues. Get all of the incredible tools helping you out from waivers to trades. We got you covered there. That, my friends, is going to do it for the Week 10 ranks. I'm Chris Welsh, Pat Fitzmaurice, Andrew Erickson. We are out of here. You guys have a fantastic one and good luck in Week 10.